get to play God once, and Satoshi played God. Well, the answer is Satoshi did it. The reason we're talking about Satoshi is because the other 100,000 would-be Satoshis failed. If any government wants to attack the network, they can't do it because they don't have the power. The actual silicon machine is in the hands of the network operators. And so that creates a certain type of efficiency and stability. And you can't really build a civilization without it. I mean, it's the same kind of efficiency you get when you build a dam. You know, on any given day, if every power company or electricity company in the world wakes up and decides to attack the Bitcoin network, they can't really do it because the computing power, the digital power is scarce and they don't have it. If any government wants to attack the network, they can't do it because they don't have the power. The actual silicon machine is in the hands of the network operators. And so that creates a certain type of efficiency and stability. And you can't really build a civilization without it. I mean, it's the same kind of efficiency you get when you build a dam, right? You dam a lake and all of a sudden you're generating hydropower. Or the same efficiency you get when you have a construction crane and a 150-pound person can lift 20 tons in the air, 1,000 feet, right? It's clear you're not going to do it without having a machine.
Here's Michael Saylor, a visionary leader and Bitcoin advocate, providing a thorough analysis of Bitcoin's use case. Michael Saylor's evaluation breaks down the Bitcoin protocol and principles, highlighting its robust security and payment functionalities. He firmly believes in the impenetrability of the Bitcoin security network, asserting that even governments cannot compromise its architecture. Saylor emphasizes Bitcoin's potential to offer financial services to the unbanked and underbanked. With just a smartphone and internet access, individuals can engage in the global economy, sending and receiving money and securely storing value. The decentralized nature of Bitcoin protects against censorship and grants financial freedom, especially in regions with unstable or authoritarian governments. Don't miss this in-depth analysis. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on market trends and more insightful content. Your engagement helps our channel grow and brings you more valuable information on the future of Bitcoin and digital assets. Thank you and enjoy the video.
So I look at the entire network and I think it's a pretty beautiful set of integrated protocols because the power protocol protects the transactions every 10 minutes. And the transactional protocol is a market-driven protocol where people are bidding to put their transactions into the block space. So as the ecosystem grows, the bid for transactions grows in a classic market economy fashion. And what you have is Austrian economics dictating which transactions will get implemented based upon subjective value of all the participants in the ecosystem. The miners, over the course of 1,000 years, it's quite obvious, right? The miners are paid by transaction fees. The block rewards were a bootstrap or an initial subsidy in the first 20 years of the network, but as far as I can see, by the year 2035, the block rewards just look de minimis. So 1% of all the Bitcoin comes out over 100 years after that. So block rewards don't really matter. They fall away over the long time toward infinity. What matters is transaction revenues. And over time, I think we can expect the transaction revenues will grow to far outstrip the block rewards. And then if you look at Bitcoin miners, they're really Bitcoin power producers or digital power centers that are defending the network. They're the first line of defense in the network in the sense that anybody that wants to hack or interrupt the blocks in the next 10 minutes, they have to get through that hash wall. They're also the second line of defense of the network because the Bitcoin miners all have invested millions or tens of millions or 100 millions or billions of capital that they can't recoup in less than 4 to 8 years and perhaps longer in some cases. So because they have to recoup their capital investment, they form corporate entities in every single nation state and every jurisdiction, and then they become active, engaged lobbyists for pro-Bitcoin policies everywhere on Earth where they operate. So So you really could think of the Bitcoin miners, kind of as all of the citadels on the wall that are defending what is Bitcoin, and they are in essence the defense arm of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's primary role is to serve as an economically sound, technically sound, ethically sound foundation for the future digital economy. It is, in essence, sound digital property or sound digital money. I've described it as digital energy, but you can think of it as digital material. How do we manifest $100 trillion of real value in cyberspace, right? How do we do that and make that stable, right? Before Bitcoin, all money, all financial transactions in cyberspace are based on credit, right? There is no digital money. There's only digital credit in the world before Bitcoin. So I send you $1 billion or $1 million. It's a credit on Visa network or on a banking network. And if the analog real world institution chooses to honor the credit, then the money changes hands. But we've talked about the problem with that before. Like I want to send $1 million 40 times, and every time I lose 2.5%, and it takes 1 month. And so it takes 4 years to move the money 40 times, and I lose all the money, right? In essence, after 40 vibrations of the money, it's gone. So the world of credit money isn't a foundation to build anything lasting or functional in cyberspace. So Bitcoin's primary role is to serve as a digital monetary foundation for the future of humanity. And if there's $900 trillion worth of stuff circulating, right now 0.1% of that is digital money, as we understand it with Bitcoin. If we want to actually move into the 21st century, into the cyber economy, you could imagine that we should be getting to 100, 200, 300, 500 trillion dollars worth of monetary value circulating digitally. If you look at the entire world economy and you ask what portion of the economy is in currency used as a medium of exchange, is that like 1, 2, 3%? Like, what percentage of the wealth of any wealthy person would be currency they use as a medium of exchange? You'd be lucky to see it 1%. So only 1% of the economy is anything related to currency. To focus upon Bitcoin needing to be a currency to create value is missing 99% of the opportunity. The real value of Bitcoin is, if I put the other $900 trillion into the digital ecosystem, I could defeat inflation, which is decimating 10% of all the wealth in the world every year, right? That's a big idea. Or I can move the money 1 million times a second instead of 1 time a month. So what we're talking about is a high fidelity, high frequency method. The ability to move money based on a computer program 1 million times faster, 1 million times cheaper, and the ability to manifest capital in digital form such that it lasts 1 million times longer, right? That's the breakthrough, right? 1 million times 1 million times 1 million, right? It's a lot better, right? And so I think that the purpose of Bitcoin is that. It's to basically manifest the economy in digital space. It's the digital transformation of capital. If there's $900 trillion of capital, what if half of it could be transformed digitally and you move $450 trillion into cyberspace? And well, you would say, well, why would I want to do that? And the answer is, so it'll last forever. It's immortal. So it's indestructible. Check number 2. And so it moves at the speed of light. Check number 3. And so I can vibrate it at the speed of a computer. So if the computer thinks 1 billion times faster than you and is 1 billion times smarter than you, and I can move the capital 1 billion times faster and let the computer use it 1 billion times more intelligently, and if it's indestructible and immortal, then it's the difference between relying upon animal power and electrical power to drive the civilization forward, right? You can heat your home with a bunch of donkeys in your living room, or you can heat your home with electricity, clean electricity. It's tricky to find powerful enough metaphors, but that's an example of a metaphor, right? Electricity versus donkey power in order to move the human race forward. You only get to play God once. And Satoshi played God. And you could say, well, Satoshi got to do it. Why can't I? Well, the answer is Satoshi did it. The reason we're talking about Satoshi is because the other 100,000 would-be Satoshis failed. If you read the history of the world, work your way through 10,000 pages of Western history, there will be thousands and thousands and thousands of episodes of alpha male thinks he was put on this earth, to change everything, full of hubris, and decides that he's going to conquer his own country, then he's got to conquer the next one, then he's got to conquer everything in his way, and then he's got to do more, change more, etc. And that's the story of Julius Caesar. That's the story of Alexander the Great. That's the story of Genghis Khan. That's the story of Napoleon, right? That's the story of Hitler. That's the story of every king, and most leaders. I could give you 10,000 of them, but William the Conqueror. But the story always ends the same way, which is they start the underdog, they get a few victories, then their head gets too big for them, then they decide to go conquer the next thing, and then pretty soon they're losing their entire army in Egypt or in Russia or wherever. And if they manage to conquer everything, they die and the entire empire falls apart immediately, like with Alexander the Great. Or they die and within one generation the empire falls apart, which is what happened to Genghis Khan. Or, they end up with no sons, so they murder everyone so they can have a son and there's civil war. Or they end up with 19 sons and the 19 sons murder each other and there's a civil war. Or they have 100 sons and one of them murders the first 20 and there's 100 civil wars. But at the end of the day, it's always an example of someone that thinks that God told them it's their manifest destiny to go and conquer something else. And there's this basic Stoic principle, I think, which is really important, which is you may be able to acquire the thing, but it's 10 times harder to maintain the thing, and it's 100 times harder to prosper or enjoy the thing. So in business, that means you can buy the business or launch the product, but can you make a profit? Probably not. But if you can make a profit, can you actually continuously grow the business forever such that you can compete for the next 100 years and prosper? That's 100 times harder. So the world is full of people that think that they can start a business, but 99% of the time they fail because they underestimate the cost to compete and the cost to prosper. The world's full of people that they thought they could acquire that thing, but they can't afford to maintain it. And then they acquire too much and they realize that it's dilutive and they can't enjoy the things they've acquired. And history is riddled with examples of empires where empire builders, they overextend and then they realize that they can't maintain the empire. It all collapses, in a catastrophe. And it's highly predictable. It always happens. If I were to give you 100 examples, I would have only given 1% of the examples because it just happens over and over and over and over again.
That's our video for today, featuring Michael Saylor discussing Bitcoin as an ideal form of money with the potential to resolve the world's flawed monetary systems. Over the past few decades, many sovereign countries have suffered from significant currency debasement due to high inflation. However, widespread adoption could help mitigate these economic issues for sovereign countries. What are your thoughts on Michael Saylor's insightful analysis of Bitcoin? Share your comments and observations in the comments section below. Subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.